Excellent. Hello. Well, thanks, guys. If you're joining us now, but I'm surprised you would because we said the show was going to be at 3, and then we changed it to 2 last second. So I'm going to tweet this out real quick to tell people that we're here.
You may not know we're here, but we're here.
We're here, and even if you're watching at 3, you can still watch us here at 3, so that's okay too. But let me try tweeting this out for the fun of it. Yeah, because tweeting is so much fun.
It's always fun.
It is.
It's so much fun. It's so much fun during like sporting events or elections. I mean, last night I was just getting bombarded with. There are certain Canadian media members that I have as favorited on Twitter because when something monumental happens in the hockey world, I want to know about it immediately if I haven't been told about it by somebody else.
Sure.
And last night, all of a sudden, like everything's popping up with, oh my God, the Liberals won in Canada. I'm like, I don't care. It's like I get these little favorites when like anybody on the Blue Jays gets a bunt single. So it's like it's like.
Here's the thing though, legit question. Everybody in Canada is thrilled to have a second-generation guy in office. I would say a large majority here in the States don't look at that as a positive second, third, and fourth generation. I wonder why. Is it just they were that fed up that they just said, okay, we like his dad, maybe we'll like him?
As a thumbnail sketch, the economy in Canada was going bad. I think I personally believe it's tied to the declining oil prices. The Canadian dollar over the last few years has become a petrodollar, and since the price of oil has gone down markedly, their economy is being affected. And I think they got tired of Harper, and Trudeau is second generation. Good-looking guy, energy. He's taking the Obama tack of change and all this baloney. So they're gonna
change and all this baloney, Mike.
They're gonna find out in a couple of years that change means just spending more money, and it's.
Don't get that into it because it's not gonna matter, right? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. So it's like you wanted what you got, and you got it. So enjoy it and.
Right.
Don't come crying to me in a couple of years when everything is going badly.
Right. Oh, by the way, Mike.
I'm hoping we're going to talk Sharks.
Yes.
Check this out.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
That's for you, my friend. It's emailed.
What?
I'm emailing it to you in about an hour.
What?
I'll email it to you right now. Yeah, I got you a ticket.
Wow.
I did. It's not a great seat, but it's a seat.
It's a seat.
I don't care. I just want in the building.
You are. You're going.
No. You don't want to see somebody cry.
Look. This is like him winning a car on Oprah. This is fantastic.
I know. I wanted to do it on the show, and I'm like, I found out this morning. I'm like, okay.
I would like to thank the Academy. I'd like to thank my mom and dad.
Awesome.
I appreciate it, Ek.
Sure thing. Of course.
I really do.
No problem. No problem. I was been trying.
That was good. Publishers Clearinghouse moment.
I thought so.
Yeah. Wait a second. This is better than Fat Ed McMahon showing up on my doorstep with a big check.
I know.
I'm going to see a Beatle.
You're going to see a Beatle in a small venue in the first time he's ever played in that town. So that's pretty cool.
Yes.
Wait, he's never played in Buffalo?
Never.
The Beatles.
With Wings or anything.
Or any Beatle. I don't. Well, no. Excuse me. Ringo Starr and his All Stars played in Western New York, but John Lennon never played here. Wow. I don't think George Harrison ever played here, and McCartney or Wings and the Beatles never played in Buffalo. They always skipped Buffalo. They always went to Toronto.
I mean, Buffalo's a great music town. It is.
Well, I mean, honestly, Russ, and we'll get into hockey in a second here, but one of the reasons why I was I am and will always be into progressive rock is because those bands came to Buffalo every year. Yes, Genesis, Jethro Tull, Rush, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I mean, I know that Genesis between 1978 and 1984 came to Buffalo 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
And I saw them, I think, 5 of those times. So, of course, their fan bases in this area are large because they actually came here.
Oh yeah, no, but I'm sure this has been it's a great thing. It's a great thing for McCartney to come there. It is like Russ said, it's such a great town as far as I love going there to see a hockey game. It's so.
Me too. It's a great place to see hockey.
People are so passionate.
The only downside to you showing me, revealing this act is that now everybody's going to know where I'm sitting.
I know, that's true. Well, that's all right. I figured you'd want some friends.
I have to tell you, everybody, I'm going to be moving around, so don't bother looking for me in that seat.
No, you see, I thought you'd want some friends because I could only buy one ticket.
Well,
So,
that's fine. One is enough.
yeah, I thought one tickets would be good. So
One is beautiful. One is beautiful.
I am emailing it to you right now.
Well, you can do it after the show. It's fine.
I'm doing it right now because it's too much fun. All right, so yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'd like to have I thought it'd be fun. I'm glad. It was hard, man. I'm really hard at secrets, and I just found out this morning about this. I'm like, oh man.
Well, thank you to you, and thank you to whoever provided you the ticket.
Yes, absolutely.
I appreciate it wholeheartedly.
No problem at all. You deserve it. It's from all of us at Hockey Buzz. All right, so here we go. Let's start the show. The show is the date is the 20th of October.
Yes.
Here we go. Ready? Hello, Hockey World. It's Tuesday, October 20th, 2015.
I'm happy, Michael Agello.
You'll never get that again. I'm Russ Cohen from Sports Illustrated.
That's right. Mark this moment down. This is the happy Mike. This is I think he might even be pulling for a Leafs win at some point during the show. We'll see.
No.
Okay, no, don't go too far.
They're playing in Buffalo tomorrow, so don't worry. There is not going to be a.
Well, yeah. So there you go. And this is the HockeyBuzzCast on HockeyBuzz.com. We come to you every Monday through Friday around this time. Sorry for the time confusion today. I had a meeting that got pushed back, and then got pushed forward, then got pushed back again. So we were doing a little bit of juggling here, but.
Well, we're here.
We're here, and that's what matters. And we are here to talk hockey. And let's unfortunately start with Duncan Keith being injured. This is he had surgery, I guess. I'm imagining, when you're Duncan Keith, you go in and the doctor looks at you and says, we're going to do surgery right now. You do it immediately because they went from not ever even announcing he was hurt to him having had surgery already, and he's back. He's out for 4 to 6 weeks.
But this happens sometimes. One time I hurt my hand, right? And actually, no, it wasn't my hand. I went in for a knee checkup because I heard something pop. Doctor goes, you may need surgery. And my wife just looks at him and goes, all right, when are we scheduling it? He goes, tomorrow. And I didn't have any choice. Right. All of a sudden, if I don't do it, then I'm a wimp and whatever. And so sometimes you have no choice based on a doctor's schedule.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. You really don't. And of course, when you're a professional hockey player, you want to start your recovery immediately. So you get back immediately. And is it a big deal, right? I mean, this is a team that is a little bit in turmoil right now, Mike.
I heard somebody make this comparison, and I think it's pretty accurate. If they had lost Taves or if they had lost Kane, that those injuries for the same amount of time, those injuries would be more easily overcome than Duncan Keith, because Duncan Keith plays half a game. He plays 28 to 30 minutes every night, and their defense behind Yarmulson and Seabrook is relatively inexperienced. This means more Trevor Daley. This means more Trevor Van Riemsdyk. They probably have to call up Ville Polka or somebody else. I mean, you're going to have to split up those minutes, and those were major minutes on the power play, penalty killing, 5-on-5. So this is going to really affect them. And if they can get through this month to month and a half, 500 or slightly over 500. And he comes back and he's 100%, then they're fine. But, I mean, it's going to be tough for them.
Yeah, if there's one guy they couldn't afford to lose, it was this guy.
Yeah.
All those reasons you said, plus who's going to be the main puck mover. I mean, Seabrook's okay at moving the puck. Daly's okay at moving the puck. Neither is Duncan Keith. Coaches around the league now are saying to themselves, it just got a lot easier to game plan against the Blackhawks. Yeah,
and the Blackhawks defense, I have always been the one person I think in the entire world that thinks the Blackhawks defense is suspect. I've always felt and the reason I've said this before is I've heard from so many people, players, and the strategy. Always the secret strategy to playing the Blackhawks has been the same. Going back to the Flyers Stanley Cup, even before that, every Stanley Cup I've followed, everyone I've covered since then, they've always said the same thing. There's a belief, for what it's worth, that the Hawks defense don't like to turn their backs. They don't like to go into the corners, and that you can cause turnover. You can cause them to turn over the puck. They will make quick plays up the boards. They'll make quick wraparounds that you can pick off. because they're skitterish about that. And if you think about it, now that I've said it, and you watch the next Hawks game you watch, you'll actually see it happen a couple times a game. This is definitely not that every team doesn't do this a couple times a game probably, but it is definitely the one thing. And Duncan Keith was the best at not doing this. He was the one defender who, because Seabrook does this, Jarmelson does it. Duncan Keith often does try to turn and actually face the play and bring it up ice. But the other guys will go into the corners and throw it off quickly before they get leveled. So this is a big deal. And sometimes though, injuries are such a strange thing in hockey. We see it. It can also be a bonding thing. I think what's happened in Philadelphia with Steve Mason has been a bonding thing for the Flyers in a weird way. I mean, it's a horrible thing that's happened. We're not going to get into it, but it's a horrible thing that's going on in Philadelphia, and he's back tonight too. Thank goodness. But
you're number one defenseman.
Yeah.
Take your pick. Top goalie or number one defenseman. You would say you would still rather your top goalie be out because you have a backup goalie.
Yeah.
You never have a backup number one defenseman. You just don't.
Right. Most teams, with the exception of Nashville, plan to have a backup goalie in place.
Right.
And yeah, they do. But
I mean, it's easy to laugh about, Mike, but it's like,
This was just a Carter Hutton reference. That's why I was laughing.
A cheap Carter Hutton reference. I get it.
Yeah, and I have nothing against Carter Hutton. I like Carter Hutton personally. I think he's a very good goalie. I always have to throw that in there in my Carter Hutton references. And sometimes your best defenseman, however, all that being said, on occasion your best defenseman looks like this. This is Brent Burns. Or someone put it.
Somebody paid a little more attention to details yesterday.
Yeah. Or someone put it, some nice guy bought the homeless person in the Sharks locker room a piece of pizza. But yeah, my goodness.
Where's the snake?
I know. Seriously, Brent Burns. This is what makes Brent Burns awesome. But to talk about yesterday's game, Russell Lewitt, because that was and I didn't just do that. I never do that. I'm going to stop for a second because that is my biggest pet peeve. I just started a sentence with talk about.
Oh, you did.
Shoot me in the head. I'm going to
put money in the swear jar. Do something.
Oh my gosh, it's my talk about. What did you think about yesterday's game?
Well, there were a few things. I thought Antti Raanta played a nice game, but I also thought the Sharks really helped him out. I'll give you one play in particular, and this is the play where I can't buy into the Sharks. So Rangers have a couple dumb penalties. It's 5-on-3. 5-on-3, puck is on Joe Thornton's stick. He's got the upper right corner of the goal just waiting for him, and he tries to slide in a pass, and I don't know who it was to. Was it to Hurdle? I forget who it was to. Marlowe? Why? Why, Joe? You had a goal there. Why in the world would you make another pass? It's 5-on-3. It's like shooting targets. Shoot the target out. When they didn't do that, that gave the Rangers great life because they were even looking at themselves like, how did they not get a goal here?
I mean, that's always been my main complaint about Joe Thornton is the fact that he is pass first and shoot second, third, fourth, and fifth. I mean, early in the season there was a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-1 break, and he actually fired the puck and caught the goalie by surprise. I think it was Jonathan Quick caught the goalie by surprise because he actually shot the puck. He needs to do that more. He actually has a pretty good shot, but and I can remember back, and I'm not comparing Joe Thornton to Thomas Caberlet, but Thomas Caberlet, when he was playing the point on the power play for Toronto, everybody knew he wasn't going to shoot the puck. Everybody knew he was going to pass to Phaneuf or whoever the other point man on the power play was, McCabe. They would sit back and let him pass. They would never guard the shot. So you have to sort of change things up. And I think Thornton is still a central part of that Sharks team. I mean, you can say that Pavelski's taking it over, that Couture, when he's not injured, is going to be is going to be the new core of that team. But Marlowe and Thornton are still there, and Thornton needs to step up and score more. And yesterday, that what you just made an example of is an example of what he does still.
Martin Jones played well, right? But also it went into that thing that we talked about the other day. You could be the greatest goalie in the world. You lose one of your two best defensemen, like they lost Paul Martin, and that team is thin on defense. Yeah. Now all of a sudden you have to be not superhuman, but you have to have like the best game of your life just to have a chance at winning. And he didn't have that.
Yeah, and you can't give up. We can't give up a bad goal. Like that one goal is definitely a bad goal, and you can't.
How about the Jesper Fast one on the rush where he sort of helped it in?
Yeah. It was a bad goal, and you can't do it. I mean, and this is a little bit of the Sharks coming down to reality, of course, as we said they would. But I still think they're going to win the division. But I still think that they are going to come back. They have come back to reality here, and we're going to see this. And there's definitely an ebb and flow when the Sharks are 3,000 miles from home playing in New York on a Monday night. I think that it looked like they just weren't there.
Yeah, but I've seen the Sharks. I've gone into MSG particularly to see them win 2-1 games.
Yeah, they usually do.
They have it in them. The problem is, though, like what Mike was talking about, too, with Brent Burns. Brent Burns didn't do anything great in that game. He did nothing to stand out. He did nothing to really help offensively or defensively. And so that's where you kind of wonder, are they just putting him there because they're weak at the position?
Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, I will continue to say, I think Brent Burns is a good defenseman. I don't think he's a top-tier Norris Trophy caliber candidate type of defenseman. He may score 15, 20 goals. He could. He's that offensively gifted. But he was a difference maker for that team when he was playing up on the wing because he didn't have to concern himself with the play in his own zone. And that's still his weakness, Russ. I still think he's at best an average defender. And I
think he's above average. I don't know. Well, I'm not going to say he's great defensively, but he's above average.
I'm not talking about his offensive game. I'm splitting it down the middle. His offensive game, I think, is all-star level. His defensive game is pedestrian. And that's the problem. It's like for a guy who's going to be their quasi number one defenseman, him and Vlasic, he's going to be playing 25 minutes. You have to be, I would say, better than an average defender because you're going to be out there all the time. And that's what I'm saying. He's, in a way, a liability because he's an average defender. He needs to step up his defensive game.
And it wasn't Brent Burns that they seemed to have in the Martin role. To me, it looked like they had Vlasic in the Martin role.
Yeah, they did.
And so that's another strike against Brent Burns. And Vlasic pulled it off. Don't get me wrong. Vlasic's a very talented guy. We've all sort of pigeonholed him into being this shutdown guy, but there's definitely more to his game, and he was passing well. But it's sort of an indictment. I do want to give a slight indictment to the MSG, not stats department, but their on-screen folks, whatever you want to call them, production people.
Yeah.
So they had that list of guys that had shutouts to start their career, like Antti Raanta, right? And one of them was John Ross Roach, but they just put John Roach. And this is the thing, the Rangers sometimes shortchange their fans on the history. There are certain guys that always come back. There's always the 94 guys. There's certain 80s guys. There's certain 60s guys. Once in a while you'll see Bathgate, and that's it. And they never really talk about much else. There'll be an occasional game. They'll flash up this and a picture of that, but never enough. And Larry Brooks actually just wrote about how John Rattel just had his 75th birthday, and a lot of Ranger fans filled his inbox because they want him to have a number retired, and he doesn't. He doesn't ever come back for games. I spoke to him like 2 months ago, and he was happy to talk about his Ranger career, just as happy to talk about his Bruins career. So there doesn't seem to be an issue if there was before, and so you kind of wonder about that. But the John Roach thing, if you search John Roach on Google, you get an archbishop of a church. If you search John Ross Roach, then you get the great goalie who had a 14-year career, played for the Maple Leafs, played for the Rangers, was really a solid player. To me, that just marginalizes him, because if I'm a fan that wants to learn about the history, they just failed. I couldn't.
No, you're absolutely right, and he never entered the seminary as far as we know.
But he had a hell of a glove.
Yeah. And he was a 5'5" goalie. He was like Darren Pang,
Yeah, This is, and Russ, you're exactly right. And Russ has also written the book on, the best 150 Rangers of all time. So you're very in tune with this.
100. We actually cut. We did have like a list of 150, but we cut it.
Cut to 100. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Well, then forget it, Russ. I don't want to buy a book of just the top 100 people. No, but it's
changing us.
I have the book upstairs too. I always thought it was 150. Anyway, no, but I think this is great. No, but you're right, and there is a really vibrant. There are a lot of the Rangers players do hang out away from the rink, like ex-players. There's definitely a vibrant thing there for sure. Absolutely. All right, let's move on to tonight. I just wanted to touch base. Tonight we have a bunch of games, and the first one that's sort of drawing attention is, like we talked about before, Steve Mason's playing Flyers Stars. tonight. That's not the big game. The big game tonight is St. Louis Montreal. This is set up. I mean, these are the two highest scoring teams in the NHL right now, and no question, this is going to be a good one. This is going to be a great game. I really want to see how Montreal faces a team like the Blues, because I'm not going to say Montreal's had an easy schedule early on, but they haven't played anybody like this. I mean, this is going to really test them. This Western Conference team. I really want to see how this plays out, and it's a big test for the Blues too. I mean, these are two teams that people think are starting really well, but no one's buying it, kind of, in my sense. And I hate to say that. I mean, that's not really true in Montreal, of course, but there's still a lot of skeptics for both of these teams. I want to see how these teams play against each other. I mean, I think this is going to be a really good game.
Well, I mean, St. Louis. I mean, first of all, Tarasenko has been out of control so far. I mean, he's really establishing himself. If people thought that he would fall off after the year that he had last year, he's really stepping it up, and he's a force every game, which for a team that has been challenged offensively over the last few years. I mean, they seemed to shake that off last year with that line of Laterra, Schwartz, and Tarasenko really kicking it in, taking a lot of the offensive pressure off of the Backuses and the Steens. If St. Louis can keep that going with that defense that they have, the three-prong, Shattenkirk, Bouwmeester, and Pietrangelo, again, the only area of concern I have for the Blues is the goaltending, which has failed them in the postseason a number of times. It seems to me that's their area of concern or stumbling block when it comes to the postseason. They get out goaltended by Devin Dubnyk last year. They get out goaltended by a Crawford a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So, if Allen can step up, I think this team has got enough talent to win. It's just they always seem to find that reason to lose.
A couple days ago, the Blues had a season-high 31 hits. Troy Brouwer had a lot of them. Then he got hit in the head and went out of the game for a while and came back in. There's a thing that tells me that if they could play that way, then that will definitely be the equalizer against the Canadiens. And will actually be interesting to see if the Canadiens try to play that game. Because that's the only way you're going to beat the Canadiens, honestly.
Yeah, no, you're right. That is the only way you're going to beat the Canadiens, and that's a game that the Blues don't really like to play.
I know.
I mean, that's what's going to be fascinating.
I think they can play that game better now than they could last year. I mean, one of the reasons they got rid of Oshie, besides contractual, the opening up money on the cap, is the fact that they had enough offense without Oshie to be able to carry on without him. And they bring in Brouwer, who I think Brouwer is a good two-way guy, a good depth guy who can be crash and bang and provide that sandpaper that I think they've been missing. They've got size, but they really didn't use that size effectively. And I think if they can do that, they can get – I mean, their division is the toughest to get through. They have to fight tooth and nail to get through the Central. But I think they're closer to being the team that can do that than they were last year with that trade.
Yeah, Brouwer had 8 hits the other night, and so that was a pretty big deal. He obviously he's a guy that could score too, right? He gets 20 goals a year, but he does add that other element, and that usually only Backus would give. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what Tarasenko does because, I'm pretty close to calling him the best player in hockey. I mean, at some point, he's going to get that moniker. It's just a matter of time.
Right now, he's there. I know. I mean, he's playing the best in hockey of any of the superstars. And I think he's definitely reached the superstar status. There's no question about that. And he's reached it pretty quickly and pretty suddenly when you think about it. I mean, he came on fast. I mean, early in his career, he was up and down and showed moments of brilliance, but definitely has developed into quite a player. For what it's worth, for all the people who argue that Hitchcock can't develop this kind of player, he did develop this kind of player. He developed Tarasenko, and I've heard a lot of, and I've been part of that argument too, that Hitch is not the best for a superstar. He's really not the best.
In the KHL, he played 4 or 5 years in the KHL.
Yeah, right. He came as more of a finished product than anything, but
he did, but he didn't adjust immediately. Like he wasn't an instant star, and
he's not a purely offensive player. Not to say that he can play in his own zone. He can fight those battles along the wall. He can You know, he's strong on the puck, and that, you know, for Hitchcock, that's important. If he was one of these guys who just wanted to turn and burn, like Phil Kessel did early in his career, a purely offensive player, no concept of defense, then he'd be in Hitchcock's doghouse. But he's not, because I think he's a little more responsible defensively than a lot of people think.
Oh, absolutely.
This could be the best game of the night for sure.
Oh yeah, I think it's got to be. So I want to show you this picture. This is kind of cool. Here we go. So this is a small town in Western Canada. I'm not recognizable from the air, but this is as big as it gets. Okay, so it's really just a few streets and a few cities, a few buildings, and this is Warburg, Alberta, which for those of you keeping track at home is a population 789 people right now, and is the hometown of both Lindy Ruff and Dave Haxtell, who are playing tonight. Who are coaching against each other tonight. A 789-person town, 2 NHL coaches. Pretty impressive.
That's crazy.
You know, isn't that nuts? And it was funny. Randy Miller had a really good article on this, and it was on NewJersey.com. Mm-hmm. He got to Lindy Ruff, and basically, you know, they didn't have a chance to do anything beforehand. They wanted to go to dinner. They thought they would actually talk, you know, beforehand. But Lindy Ruff said, "My dad called me and said I got to make sure to say hello to his mom." Ruff said with a laugh. I said, "How would you like me to do that exactly? The building's pretty big. I got work to do." So, and what's kind of interesting about this, there, you know, and it was a really good story by Randy, because, you know, Haxtell in a town this small, obviously everybody knew each other, and Ruff said there were a few Haxtells around, and they all were related, obviously, but Haxtell was friends with Lindy's brother, who died when he was 16, and they were on the same hockey team together growing up. So,
wow,
it's kind of crazy. So there's a lot, you know, Lindy's a little bit older than him, but he knew him, of course, because of that. So
I think Lindy's 10 years older, but you know, that's okay.
Yeah. So if there's a bar in Warburg tonight, I would venture to guess that this game's on. You know, like
gotta be one bar.
There's got to be a bar in Warburg, Alberta.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't you love to just say, okay, we're going to go there now? I wish you had that kind of technology.
A family feud between the Haxtalls and the Ruffs. There'll be one on each side of the bar.
Yeah. So that's tonight's game, Dallas versus Philly, which is always an exciting game for some reason. These teams play very similar. I'm convinced they're kind of mirror images of each other in some ways. They both have a couple superstar forwards. They both have defensive issues. They both have, you know, they both right now have 2 good goalies, which is surprising. They both had goalie issues. So, and they both like to when they play against each other, they like to run and gun it. That's in the past. There have been high-scoring games when these teams have played. Just out of the norm, you'll see if you look through the Flyers scores of last year, it's like 2-1, 3-2, then 7-4. And
I found the hot spot. This is the hot spot. When you type in sports bars in Warbury,
okay.
This is what you get.
You got it? Send it to me. I'll put it up there. All right, cool.
Like 4 stars.
Outhouse.
Thorsbury, yes. Thorsbury Family Restaurant and Jerry's Sports Lounge. I love it. That's awesome.
They have the best wings in town. They have the only wings in town.
You know what it says on Facebook? 94 people have been here.
94 people have been here on Facebook. That's awesome.
That's in the last 5 years, Russ.
Oh, that's great. That's really great. Oh my gosh, awesome! I will put this up in a little bit. I will get this up. This is just gonna move it over to my other thing. But that's good work, Ross. Good work. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So.
There you go.
Oh yeah. No, but we've got here it is. Okay, hold on. Let me put it here. This is great. Love it. All right. There's the place to be in Warburg tonight, and I'm assuming.
Well, it's not exactly in Warburg, right? Because if there might be like a 5-minute ride or something.
Yeah, so here it is.
Yeah. Russ, the problem is that everything in Western Canada, everything is like a 6-hour drive.
This can't be a 6-hour drive, or it wouldn't come up first.
That looks like some good ice cream there. Yep. And yep, there you go. There's a picture. There's a picture of the outside of it for you. You can see it's probably the only standing structure within 100 miles of itself.
No, come on, there's got to be a Tim Hortons.
There's one car parked in front. What are you talking about?
There's one car parked in front. Here it is. There's another angle.
Sorry, Western Canada, we're not making fun of you.
Yeah, right now this is by far the most attention this place has ever had on the internet.
The tease is to love.
I am not making fun of you. I want somebody to email me who's been there. Okay, I want something from this place. Because and this gives me something to ask Haxtell and Ruff tonight. Hey, you guys ever been to Thorsbury's Family Restaurant? Come on.
Thorsby.
Thursday. I dare you. I dare you, Russ.
Russ, we gotta go. They have pizza and pasta.
I see that.
You get Ruff, I'll get Hackstall. We'll find out. We'll find out tonight what's going on here.
I'm trying to see what town does it say it's really Thorsby, Alberta. I got to see what the difference is. I'm going to do a map.
It's probably a good 6-hour drive. No, it's got to be close. It's got to be close.
Isn't it? I think it's close to Lethbridge because I think that's where Lindy played. It was Lethbridge.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I remember he was a second-round pick of the Sabres in I think '78 or '79, and I think he played for the Lethbridge Broncos at the time. Now it's the Lethbridge Hurricanes.
And he played for the Rangers too, right, Lindy?
Yeah, after the Sabres, he was with the Sabres for at least a decade.
All right, so I'm trying to find out how long. Only in this world that we live in, can you search how far is Thorsby from Warburg? All right, here it is. Distance. It's only 15 minutes.
Okay, that's good.
It's 22 kilometers, which I think, if I do my calculations right, is 75 miles.
The problem is, Zach, if you tried to walk that distance, you'd be dead in the winter because
flight distance
20.
It's only 19 kilometers by air, but I don't think each has its own airport. But I think that's just a Google thing. But yes, it's only 15 minutes. So you can get there, you can get home. It's early, and the game's at 7:30, so it's a 5:30 game out there. Perfect for dinner time. I guarantee. I'm going to call somebody there. We should do that later. I'm going to call somebody and record and say, "Is the game on?"
Tell everybody want to buy them a pizza.
Do you want to call him right now? Should I call him? Hold on a second.
No.
Feel free. There is a place, the Warburg Corner Restaurant, but I guess they didn't pop up because they're not a sports bar.
Right. Okay.
Oh.
All right. I'm calling him right now. Hold on. Here we go.
Oh, come on, are you kidding me?
Here we go.
This is on the fly webcast here.
Yeah, this is really. There's only one game last night, guys. So this is what we're doing. All right, here we go.
Well, after this, I want to talk about something that you put in today's blog because I have an opinion where this might be going.
I'm gonna put this on speaker. It might not be open. It's noon there. It should be open. All right, here we go.
It's got to be open for lunch.
I would think so.
Yeah. Just ask them if they have the game on tonight.
Here you go. See. Bring in.
Salmon Restaurant, may I help you?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, thanks. And yourself?
Good. Are you gonna have the Flyers Stars game on tonight? We were curious.
Pardon me?
In the bar there, the Jerry Sports Bar. Is this the same number for that?
Right.
We were looking to see if the hockey game was going to be on tonight, like the Flyers game, because we're in town.
Okay, just 1 second.
Town.
All right, they blew me off.
Wow.
They're probably watching the webcast and they know this was a joke.
No, Lindy doesn't have the pull he thinks he does. Same with Hackstall.
I feel bad.
Okay.
But I agree. No, I agree. Let's no. But they're very nice people there.
They were nice. She answered the phone very nicely.
Very sweet, and I think they were trying to find out for me, but then I got cut off. Anyway, all right. So there we go. So if you're in, I'm sure they'll get it on for you. Drive to Warburg, from Warburg to Thorsby. It's Thorsby. I keep saying Thorsby. Thorsby. Okay, Mike. Let's talk a little bit about my blog. The Leafs. Yes, the Leafs are doing a. We get these. I call them like just sort of alerts from certain people that text me saying, the Leafs are up to something. It might not be big this time, but they're trying to do something in the next day or two. So that tells me not much, but it's something I have to search for, and it's something that I would write about because if somebody else out there knows about it, and maybe one of my sources would get me more information. But that's all I really have right now on it. It's more. I think there's, I've continually heard Bozak and Vancouver mentioned many times now, and that keeps going. It keeps going on. And I know some people that makes no sense, but I just keep hearing it mentioned. Those are two teams they're talking.
Sure, but what about Columbus? Columbus is looking to a deal.
Well, there might be something to Bozak, as you mentioned, but the only thing is, and he got injured in Columbus on Friday. He didn't play against Pittsburgh, and he hasn't practiced. Now, I don't think that's like they're holding him out so he's going to be traded. I think it's actually that he was injured. So that would preclude any kind of possibility of a deal right now. What I do think it could be is a defenseman. And, besides Columbus, there are a few teams out there that are looking for a depth defenseman. And right now the Leafs have 8. And they have two guys who are relatively young, and Martin Marincin and Frankie Corrado, who they picked up from Vancouver, who hasn't played a game yet. And I think they want to get them to play. And they have Roman Polak, who's a unrestricted free agent at the end of the year, making less than $3 million, a veteran guy who's played okay so far. And, he's a good, solid 5'6" defenseman who could help a team like a Columbus. He's a tough, right-hand shot, defensive-minded guy. Don't think he would cost anything more than a second-round pick or a prospect. So I think there's a possibility, if not Columbus, there are a few other teams that are apparently looking for defensemen. I think that would be the type of deal that Toronto and Lou Lamoriello are looking to make, because I think they want to open up space for those younger defensemen to get in the lineup regularly and play.
It makes sense. It does. I mean, it really does make sense. And Columbus is going to be up to something. There's no question about it. Whether, we talked about it, whether it's going to be a firing or not. I mean, there's only so many games you can lose before a coach does get fired.
Well, I thought it very interesting, Russ. I don't know if you saw this, that the Blue Jackets were going to have a team dinner with the owner yesterday or the day before, and it was
not the best time to do this.
And
it was canceled. They canceled it.
Probably a good idea.
Well, does this mean that there's going to be a firing? Does this mean there's going to be a trade? I mean, what does it actually mean? But it's not exactly a good sign that we spent thousands of dollars to cater this this dinner, and all of a sudden, chop, boom, over. So something is not right there. Obviously, they're the focal point right now of a lot of criticism and a lot of speculation, because they just don't look good. It's not the fact that they're deficient in some areas. Their good players are not playing good. Nick Foligno is taking stupid penalties. Ryan Johansson is making bad defensive giveaways. They have a psyche that's so fragile that if a team scores a goal, they give up 2 or 3 right after. It's baffling, because this team has a lot of talent, but they're just not playing well.
All right, so here's what I'll give you. I'll give you Josh Anderson, who used to play for the London Knights, and a 5th-round pick for Polak. That'd probably get it done.
I don't know. I mean, I would probably. I mean, based on
playing in the NHL now, so.
Yeah, I mean, based on the talk last year about them not being high on Kirby Reichel, I would try. What's that?
I don't think they would trade Reichel, though. I don't.
Well, he was their first call up when they thought that one of their forwards was going to be hurt, and so I mean, maybe not. Maybe they've recanted on that criticism, and maybe they think he still can help them. But I mean, knowing the Leafs, knowing their posture, I think they would probably take or want a future draft pick rather than taking on a contract, taking on a player.
Well, Josh Anderson's a 21-year-old. He's on an ELC.
Right. I mean, right, but it's a contract. I'm saying that I think they want the flexibility of having that space that they created from that Islanders deal. They've signed a few players after that, so I think they still want to maintain that flexibility going through the season.
Yeah, Reichel's got 4 points in 2 AHL games this year, and they did call him up for that one game that you said.
Right.
I don't think he's going anywhere, but there's probably a deal to be made.
Yeah.
I think there is, and I canceling these things, you can't read too much into them for sure. I mean, right now it's probably just
optics.
Yeah, if you've ever been around it, and I remember when I was doing my show, the Flyers BuzzCast that I did for Comcast for 2 years, and the Flyers were struggling. They were struggling when I was doing it, and it's hard to be around it's hard to get anything. I mean, the entire thing, from every secretary to person who sells tickets to the hot dog vendors.
To the ticket ripper. I said it that year. I was like, that year that the Flyers were just awful. They were awful when you walked in the front door.
Yeah,
the whole place.
It does. It permeates, and it's true with every organization. I mean, winning is such a huge deal to everybody working there.
True.
And it really just it gets ugly. And I think right now this is like not the time to have a dinner with the owner. You know, it's just like this is just not the time. And I'm sure whatever place they did it, you know, we'll give them money back or we'll hold it because, you know, they want to have the Blue Jackets business in Columbus. So, but I think that this is probably just that. I wouldn't write too much into this whether or not there's going to be a firing or not. But you know, I could definitely write this in that they don't want to party right now. I think it's the wrong time to have a party, and the perception would be wrong. You know, that's really what I can see from that, as best I can tell. But yeah, I mean that's I'm going to tweet out about the Thorsby Family Restaurant and Jerry's Sports Bar, their address, so people can go.
There you go.
Because I want to give them a big plug here. So yeah, there you go. So yeah, so we also have, you know, we have a couple teams coming back to earth here. The Coyotes are another one, you know, and they're back on the ice tonight. But I think right now, you know, what we've seen from Arizona, we talked about it. I don't know what's real yet with Arizona, because part of me thinks that a little bit of Arizona is actually real. Like they're part of, you know, this isn't just an anomaly. That there is something to the fact that they've waited long enough. The players have developed. They're in there now. They've got so much speed. They've got a great goalie. Well, playing great.
That's where I'm a little ambivalent here, because I think that Max Domi and Anthony Duclair, although they're not going to score at the pace that they're scoring right now, teams will develop a way to try to shut them down. They have a lot of speed, a lot of talent, and I think that they'll score, and I think they'll provide some speed and some offensive threat for that team. On the other hand, Mike Smith, he played really well in the first couple games. I saw highlights of him play against, and I saw some of that game against Boston live. I mean, that game he looked like a sieve. And you know, I know goaltenders have bad games. Not everybody can be Carey Price or Carey Price-like every game. But for that team to even be competitive, they need Mike Smith to play really well, and he didn't play well at all in that game. So I mean, and that was the Mike Smith of last year, who you were wondering how this guy ever made the NHL. That's how bad he was. So if he plays, you know, if he plays like he did the first couple games, he plays the majority of his games like that, they have a chance to be competitive and probably, you know, finish around 500. If he plays like he did last year, they're going to be down at the bottom again.
No, I think they're for real in the sense that when Calgary got hot last year, a lot of that had to do with their young talent and the chemistry and being hard to cover. And so they do have some of that going for them. They do. Now, when they played the Bruins, though, the Bruins did sort of beat the tar out of them. And so I kind of wonder now, is that going to be the Devils' deal? Are they going to try and do that? And that may be the way to combat them, is just to play very physical, because these are young guys. They're not big guys. Duclair's not big. Domi's not big. You know, they don't have a lot of guys to combat that. They don't have a lot of size on Arizona. It's not. No. I haven't seen them play that much, but I haven't noticed a lot of size on that team, and so that could be an issue.
And that was another contributing factor to them last year, Russ, was the fact not only that they traded some of their players away, but the fact that some of their key players, like Bodker, were injured.
Right.
Missed most of the season. I mean, I don't know if it was Hansel who had surgery in like January. I mean, they were playing a lot of players who, you know, were not NHL players down the stretch because they needed bodies. So I mean, I think, you know, because most of those players started the season healthy, and they have Hansel, they have Bodker, they have Doan, they have Vermette, and all the players that they brought back, they have them back. This is the best lineup that they've had in a while. Now, you know, they'll get injured, or they'll have some wear and tear as the season goes along. But right now, you know, there's enough talent there to maintain a competitive edge going through the season. And it's just, I think this is just a question of whether Mike Smith can be the Mike Smith of a few years ago when he was, you know, Vezina Trophy capable or in the mix,
yeah,
or a goalie whose save percentage was, I think it was less than 900 last year.
But this is their sandpaper guys. It's going to be
Downey.
It's going to be Vitale. You know, had the fight the other night and then got beat up pretty bad.
Steve Downey, right?
Yeah, Shane Doan and Steve Downey.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not all.
They have a little bit of it. They have more than usual. So we'll see.
more than usual. But Downey is, Steve Downey is such a loose cannon type player that and can be up and down. He has moments, and he's definitely. There's players, it reminds me of he's a good player to have, but it does remind me of Rafi Torres in San Jose. It just feels like that, Downey could implode at any point.
Well, they did waive the sheriff. They waived John Scott.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. I just got a really interesting text from someone I had to mention that and this is again about the Flyers game tonight. So I apologize on that one. But Braden Schen's apparently not happy with the fact that Luke Schen's being scratched. And you usually don't hear these guys talk about this stuff very often. Like I've never really gotten this strong bond between Braden and Luke Schenn personally. Like I know they're brothers, but Braden just says thinks it's brutal. He hates coming to the rink right now, because his brother's out of there. Is not playing well. I mean, Luke played pretty well for the first two games, then was scratched.
Yeah.
But then it goes on to the article about talk about LeCavier, which we talked about the other day, and how he's been staying at practices for 30 minutes longer. He's been working hard, and it just says it hasn't changed in the first. He hasn't basically been told anything by Hackstall as to what's going on. They asked about his status. He said, hasn't changed in the first game since I got scratched. There's nothing really to add. It is what it is. I'm doing everything I can to be ready. I'm at the same place where I was before the first game when he told me that I was scratched. There's some things going on now that in Flyers land that aren't really Flyers-like.
This is Hextall-like, though. It is.
It is. Yeah, Hextall-like, right?
Hextall. No, not Hextall.
Oh, Hextall-like. Okay. Lack of communication?
I'm not going to say lack of communication because I don't know how closely he communicated on the college level, but he had an iron fist. Right. And that's what those guys are used to. And so you could do almost anything you want with your players as far as scratching or whatever at the college level, and they can't say a word, right? You don't want to lose your scholarship, nothing. So he's going to find out at the NHL level things are a little different, and you've got to be a little bit more in touch with the players just to sort of let them know their role. Even if you don't have that player in your plans, you have to sort of just tell them that.
Yeah, you have to be a little more. You have to be a little more diplomatic because what you create if you're basically being hard-nosed and making the decisions that you want, you create sort of a subversive aspect in the locker room that you're just breeding discontent. And for a first-time NHL coach, that's the last thing you want to do, especially with a veteran like LeCavier, who's a respected guy. His tenure in Philadelphia has not been the greatest.
But he doesn't cause trouble. He doesn't.
Exactly. He doesn't cause trouble.
For these quotes to even come out,
right?
He says, I don't really, LeCavier is miffed. He says he doesn't know what he needs to show Hextall in practice to get a shot into the lineup. He says, no, we really haven't discussed that. LeCavier says, I don't know what to say, man. He says, I don't know what to say, man. As a veteran guy, you want to start the year in the lineup and go from there. Hopefully soon.
And we've said this on a few different webcasts, Zach, is the fact that the Schen's hold in Philadelphia is very tenuous. I mean, Braden Schen's an RFA, Luke Schen's a UFA, so which leads me to believe if there's any truth in the rumors of them making deals for defensemen or making any kind of deals, that those are the type of guys that they're going to want to move out because they're. I mean, Luke Schenn is probably going to be gone from Philadelphia next year if he goes to UFA and doesn't get traded because he's not playing. He's going to go someplace where there's opportunity. So
if you want to trade him now, if you want to showcase him to Columbus, you got to play him.
You got to play him.
Right. You have to. He's an expendable commodity for the Flyers with all those young defensemen in the pipeline. You trade him, you get something for him. Maybe you bring one of those kids up, and you allow them to have some experience at the NHL level. Maybe that's something they wait until December, January, February to do. But I think that's the course of what's going to happen with Luke Schenn.
Yeah, no, I think so too, and I think that is the course. But at the same time, he also, I thought, played well for Luke Schenn. I thought he played well for Luke Schenn, and then.
But I guess we talked about this. Like, we knew this new coach would have like an evaluation period.
Yeah.
The guys he feels should be in the lineup, and to me now it seems like it's going to be 10 games, and everybody's going to have to wait. That's what it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's hard for guys to get evaluated if they don't ever get into the lineup at all. So that's the tough thing, and I I mean, one of the reasons the Flyers have always been able to get free agents is because they don't do stuff like this, and it's one of those things that other teams. There are other teams that have done this, and we've seen the issues that they've had with them. Especially a guy like Vinny. I don't know, maybe it's just the hockey fan in me, but I just don't like to see a guy like this being treated like that.
No, it's tough. I mean, look, if he's saying anything, that means his frustration's at like a 15, right?
Yeah.
And I get that because I knew he worked hard over the summer. I could see it just in practices and everything else. Just the one scrimmage I watched, he was working really hard. One that was like, not televised. It was at Voorhees. And I saw how hard he was trying just in that. So he's giving you his effort. It's just a shame that sometimes players give an effort, right, and they're just not as good as they were, right? That just happens. But I get his point, like, hey, just throw me in and see if I can even do something for you.
Right.
Because he still feels like he might be able to, and it's not like they're so good that they can't afford to do that.
Right. I think that's the case, and I saw him playing a preseason game against the Islanders up in Hershey, I want to say, but no, in Allentown for the Phantoms, and he was on a line with Gagne and Umberger, and Gagne and LeCavier had a really strong chemistry together. They looked really good together. It was the kind of player that Cavier's got to play with, and the kind of player that Gagne's got to play with. I mean, Gagne came in the other night against the Hawks and was very good, scored a goal, looked good in general, and you get the feeling that he's going to be in the lineup for a few more games now. Gagne has definitely earned a spot. And part of me wonders in the back of my head what's going on is thinking when no communication is going to a Flyer player like this, I can't help but think like who's taking Vinny's spot really? And basically Scott Lawton right now is taking Vinny's spot.
Right. Yeah.
But so if that was going to be the case for the entire year, I would think that LeCavier would have some sort of sense of it, but I'm wondering if Lawton's a part of something that they're looking at. Like if that's what I keep thinking about. Like if they're going to make a move for Bufflin, then LeCavier gets back in because they move like 3 or 4 guys. That there's some kind of move that they can't talk to him about, obviously, but there's something going on. They're not just. That's what I wonder.
Now here's the thing, okay? I'll go back to what I default with Scott Lawton, and that is, I always felt like he's a bottom 6 talent. But if you want to make him a top 6 player, I said you kind of have to go with it and see what he can do because that's the only way you're going to find out. In 4 games, he has a point. You look at last year, in 31 games, he had 6 points. So far, you're not seeing anything that he hasn't already done.
Right. I think his top side, and I think he's a good player, but his top side is where sort of Braden Shen is now.
I'm not even sure it's that high. I think it's a little lower than that.
Well, yeah. Braden Shen's playing pretty well this year, I would say. Yeah, so maybe that's true. But I think where Braden Shen has been at times for the Flyers is Lawton's top side. Braden Shen has the ability to do a lot more than Lawton does.
Honestly, it's very tough to project what a player is going to do at age 20 or 21 in terms of a cap of their high point. I don't think Lawton is going to be a 20-goal scorer in the NHL. I do think Shen is and can be on a consistent.
He had 20 2 years ago and he had 18 last year.
Yeah. So I think that's a consistent level that he can maintain. I don't know if Lawton. I think he's got an excellent work ethic. I think he's somebody who can be an.
Yeah, that's kind of what he is. He's a workhorse type player.
Yeah,
right. But he's not an offensive talent. Whereas Shen was a 5th pick overall in the draft, and he's not exactly a slouch. I mean, he has.
No, right, exactly.
There's a lot of nitpicking. Let's be honest about this. There's a lot of nitpicking with Braden Shen. Oh, well, he did a lot of scoring in his first half and not the second half. But at the end of the day, he still had 41 points 2 years ago and 47 last year. He's still improving.
Yeah.
However you want to look at it, when he got hot, when he didn't get hot, I think there's a lot of nitpicking, but it's hard to find guys that could score 20 goals consistently. Just ask Matt Reed. He's not gotten back to that.
Right. No, you're exactly right. And he does. And Shen does thrive in certain situations. I really liked him with Giroux and Wojciech. Yeah. I thought that was you really saw. I mean, I'm a big Michael Raffl fan, but Michael Raffl sort of is what he is. Where Braden Shen brings a little bit more to the table still. And I think that. And that's the other thing that they're talking about in Philly a lot right now is the fact that Giroux and Voracek are off to such slow starts. These are 2 guys who they're counting on in a big way. But this is not unheard of.
That's where other guys have to pick it up, right? Yeah. I mean, it can't always be those 2 guys. 2 guys don't make a hockey team.
Right, exactly. Well, it's going to be fun tonight. It's going to be a fun game tonight. And
Dallas is coming in with a lot of gravitas.
I know they've won a bunch of games. They're scoring like crazy. The Flyers haven't given up a goal yet at home this year in 2 games.
And they just had a team dinner somewhere in Philly. So.
Yep. Yeah. So
no, they did
good.
last night. Night.
So the caterer in Columbus switched his
Right. Switched to
No, but they had a bonding, and I'm sure if I went on Instagram, I could see where Tyler Seguin was.
I'm guessing like the Continental or like Budokan. You know, that's like.
I think Budokan.
Budokan's the place to go. That's where I went. I've been there with some famous people before. Budokan's the place to go.
Or Chipotle. You know, as much as the hockey players love Chipotle.
No.
But they all love Chipotle. They do.
They do, but they're not going to dinner there.
I know. Budokan's the place.
Yeah, I mean that's where you can get yourself it has to be a place you can get yourself a really good steak. That's the first requirement of hockey players I've noticed. Like where they have to go. You know, I heard Ray Whitney interviewed yesterday on XM, and he said the thing he missed the most was being on the road and going after big steak dinners with everybody. So
didn't Cheap Trick record an album there?
At Budokan, no.
Yeah, different Budokan. That's in Japan.
I think that's what this is named after, though.
It is, yeah.
Steven Starr is a restaurateur in Philadelphia who owns a bunch of restaurants, and Budokan's one of them, and he's definitely a music person too. So, all right, that's all the time we have for today, guys. It was great joining us. we liked you. I liked having you, I guess I should say.
Shout out to the folks at Jerry's.
Yeah, hi to Jerry's. Have fun tonight. Hopefully we brought you some business in Western Alberta. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We will talk to you tomorrow.